Hello, I'm David.
Hi, I'm Julie.
So now we're going to do a review of Apollo, a game inspired by NASA moon missions, which is a mouthful that I had to read.
Yeah.
So this is for 2 to 5 players, ages 12 and up. So it is a cooperative game, and it's a dice manipulation, real-time strategy game. So you will need a timer or a cell phone that can keep track of 4 minutes. That's how long each turn is. So let's take a look at what you'll be doing before we give our review. So there are 2 scenarios. This is showing you the Gemini, the introductory scenario. You can play the second scenario, which is the Apollo. And you see it comes with these nice little pouches that make you think that you're eating space food. And it has some educational stuff on the back of this. So the Apollo mission is a much bigger scenario. So you'll see here that it's laid out. You got to go from the moon to the, from Earth to the moon and back. So that's the longer scenario. But regardless if it's the shorter one, the Gemini one, or the Apollo one, it's basically the same thing. One player will be mission control, and they'll get this screen here to hide what is behind it, which is the status of the spaceship. So you got the astronauts, the other players are the astronauts, and they will have this out here. Mission control will control this piece here, and they'll lose if they don't complete the stages by the time, if it passes. So if they haven't gone done with stage 2 yet and it passes here, they lose. And so there's 5 stages they have to complete, and complete 2 experiments, at least for the Gemini mission. It's a little different for the Apollo mission. But mission control has to keep track of how healthy the ship is. So everything starts out at full health, 8, and you have these sliders here. And as the astronauts roll dice, which I'll show you here in a minute, the dice, depending on how they're allocated, the ship will get worn out. And so with the screen here, the astronauts have to try to remember. They can keep track here with these red pieces of how much stuff is damaged. If they keep accurate count, the mission control won't have to communicate with them as much. But if things get in crisis, mission control can alert them like this. You can use these things, and if they lose communication, this will flip up. It'll be like this. The astronauts would see it like that. So what is mission control doing? They're going to track this. If it gets to crisis, they might have to flip a card. Other things can happen when the card is flipped. So if I show you a little bit here close up, for instance, this right here, for power distribution, it says, crisis system failure. Mission control must complete a crisis puzzle before astronauts can complete any action. So even when the timer's still going, the mission control player will flip up one of these, and then they have to use the 2 dice that they have, and the astronauts can lend them more dice to try to connect circuits all the way from one end to another. And this is going on while the timer's going, and if they don't complete it by the timer, the piece will move here, and then they can get additional time. So if they don't complete it in time, the mission is going to continue. And again, if they don't complete the stages when they're supposed to, the mission can end. So the first stage gets flipped up, they launch, and then I'll show you how the stages work here. So the first stage here, the astronauts have to get dice all the same color that are equal. So it could be 4 4s, and it'd have to be either yellow or black to do that. And they don't have to get all 4s at the same time. They can do it one round after 4 minutes are up, and then allocate more dice the next round. But the problem is, if you're committed dice, you're going to have less dice to roll, which means you can get more damage, which I'll explain in a minute. Stage 3 is you got to get 3 yellow that are equal and 3 black that are equal. And again, you don't have to do these all at once. Next one is you have to have dice in sequence that are greater than the other. So all same color though. So that can be difficult for the astronauts when you only have 5 yellow to begin with. You're going to have to use all 5 yellow or all 5 black to do that. That's stage 4. Stage 5, when you're re-entering, you have to, of course, complete those 2 experiments, but then you have to have life support above 2, flight control above 3, and experiments above 3. And I think things will being tracked here by mission control. So Mission Control has to use communication tokens. They just can't tell the astronauts what's going on. Mission Control has to spin these tokens, and sometimes on the back they have extra abilities, but if they spin them, they can give one piece of information. So it would actually take 3 communication tokens to tell the astronauts you need 3 dice, all 3s, and yellow. So that would require 3 communication tokens to give all 3 bits of information. They can use one communication to tell them, for instance, life support is at 4. Now life support's, you don't want to have that get down too far because you lose, the astronauts start losing dice. They can't roll as many dice. Experiments, Mission Control can help the astronauts by adding modifiers to the experiments. Communications, if it goes down to here, now the astronauts are going to have to generate communication, have to repair it. And I'll show what the astronauts can do to repair. Power distribution is they can adjust things. So say power distribution, life support is down here. They can use power distribution to raise life support but lower something else. So that's Mission Control is basically having to use tokens to communicate, sometimes have to complete puzzles, and we'll move the token around the board. So now what are the astronauts doing? Well, right away they're going to roll all 10 dice at the beginning of the game. Remember, 2 is kept by Mission Control. And then they'll assign them to here. And you want to cover up X's. So this is random at first. You do have some choice if you roll 6s. And I didn't roll any 6s, but let's say I did roll 1 6. It goes down here. Now the other players would be the astronauts. So right now, there will be no damage to power distribution or life support. Let me show this on the main smaller screen here. So power distribution and life support won't have any damage. But experiments is going to get 2 damage, communications 2, and flight control 2. So the 6 can be put somewhere. In fact, the 6 can be put even over here. They get a +1 modifier that can be used on this turn or a future turn to have a die go up 1 or down 1, but it can't wrap around. 6s can't become 1s, and 1s can't become 6s. But you can also put it here, and that's where the astronauts communicate to Mission Control what the damage is. And then once the damage has been calculated, then the timer starts. And then so astronauts are going to start allocating these dice. And whenever they allocate it towards one of these functions here, repair or getting things, it's going to move. So if they allocate, again, I'm just doing this randomly right here, like this, that's 3 actions. It will move 1, 2, 3, and now they only have 2 more moves here to complete the stage 2 card. So what are the things the astronauts can do with the dice? And again, you don't roll them again. You use the dice that you rolled to calculate which systems got damaged and which ones did not. Well, this is repairing. And repairing is typically you want to play cards that, play dice that are of the same color if possible and in sequence. So you can skip numbers. So if it was something like this, it would repair 3 flight control, but you can put them anywhere. You can repair power distribution, any of those systems. If you use a die of the same color, this would be 1, 2, 3, plus the die of the same color, you repair 4. That would repair 2 only. That would repair 1. You put dice here to complete stages. Here is to, you put dice like a 6, but it has to be black dice. You get 3 adjustments. You get these to manipulate dice. Experiments, this is where you'd put, for instance, if I put all 3 yellows here, and that means for stage 2, I have to get a 4th 3. If I had a 2 right there, like I rolled, I can use my +1 to make it a 3, and then I'd be able to finish that. I'm not experiments, flight control. That's where it goes for the stages. Experiments is this card here. If Julie were able to tell me that I need 3s and so many of them, then that's where I put them down here. Communications, this is where I get more communication tokens for Mission Control. So you're basically rolling dice, using what you rolled to fix things and to advance stages and to complete experiments while you're going through the mission here and getting them done before you complete stages and get to Earth. So,
phew, that was a lot. You did good.
But it's important to know all that because here's the key things. It's cooperative. Mission Control can't really talk unless they spend communication tokens. And you're going to manipulate dice on a timer.
Right.
All right, so let's take a look at the review.
Okay, I go first, as you guys know.
And did I do the right way? Did I cook it the right way? I did, so here we go.
Okay.
So we come up with our reasons separately. We don't know what each other's going to say.
Nope.
We'll have positive, negatives, and neutrals, and then we're going to use those to give our rating using the BGG 1 through 10 rating system. So here we go.
Okay, well, as you can see, I said the art's really cool. That was my positive. Then the rest are negatives. And this is just because this just wasn't my kind of game. I found it to be very stressful being the astronaut. We played this twice, and first time I was the astronaut, he was flight control, and then we switched the second time around. So with me being the astronaut the first time, it was just too much for me to grasp.
Well, too much
everything.
for one player, that's for sure.
It's way too much for one player.
Especially when you're learning the game.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when I was mission control, I found it to be actually kind of boring because I didn't really have much to say. I didn't have much to do. So I pretty much just kind of sat there while he rolled dice and did stuff and then told me what needed to be changed on the flight thing. But other than that, I could have been on my phone and he could have played this by himself, to be honest. And we found that well, for me, I should say, it just doesn't play well with just two players. I think that Dave is right. If there was one more player, two more players, it would have been a lot easier being the astronaut. But saying that, though, he really just did great being the astronaut all by himself. So I don't know.
But that's the thing. I felt like I was playing by myself.
Exactly, because granted, I was on the other side of the table. I didn't say much to him at all. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, let's see what I have to say. All right, so it is a cool idea. It is a thematic real-time dice manipulation game. That's pretty cool that they based it on a historical event. However, it's a poor execution. Mission Control, as Julie was saying, is basically boring to play. And it's just kind of weird that if you've seen movies like Apollo 13 and other movies, so you got to have tokens to communicate with you. They're always in communication. And when they're not in communication, it doesn't matter. It's just weird that you got to spin dice to get back in communication. That the astronauts repair it. If there's lack of communication, sometimes it's on Earth.
Right.
So wouldn't Mission Control repair that? Or there's communication blackouts and you can't do anything about it.
True.
So it's kind of, I'm trying to remember the word I was using, artificial, just to even separate Mission Control from the astronauts. I would have preferred a game where everybody's astronauts, and then you have cards that you
that would have been cool.
You have target cards that you draw that you have to try to hit those targets, and then you have to decide as a team how you want to spend the dice, and if you don't complete so many cards, you keep on getting more and more problems, and then it would have made more sense.
That would have been really cool.
So, again, it's an interesting idea, but I don't think it was executed well. In addition, some actions just didn't make sense in terms of a historical context.
Like the experiments?
Yes, I'm glad you reminded me of that because I was going to have to remember. It's a little late as we go over this. So the astronauts won't know what they have to do to complete the experiments. You don't think they wouldn't know until they went up in orbit. So it's kind of like, I got to wait for Mission Control to tell me what I need.
Right.
It doesn't, historically, when the astronauts go up, they know what experiments they have it in kits.
Yep.
Now, if it's cards that you draw this card, something went wrong, we got to repair this, like you see in the movie Apollo 13. Now that makes sense.
Exactly.
But then the astronauts know it, so then you don't need Mission Control anyways.
Nope.
Other than the fact that Mission Control might be telling you stuff, but you don't need another player to be Mission Control. So again, it's artificial just to have someone be in that role. And then if there's a crisis, I can't tell you what the crisis is. I got to spend a token, and then the astronauts will have to roll dice to open up communication. It's just, I don't like it.
I can tell.
Okay, there is some educational enrichment. Now, what is the educational enrichment part? Well, you can have students look at this. When they complete experiments, it gives you a little bit of detail here.
Neat.
It could get them interested in the space program.
That would be cool.
But notice I'm emphasizing the word enrichment. meaning that because there's so many things that are kind of artificial here in terms of it doesn't really mirror real life enough for me to say this is a simulation
Right.
where I could lead a unit. Because some games I could teach a whole unit around.
Right.
Okay, this, because it's not accurate,
Couldn't
and
do
because
that.
it's kind of a weird game mechanics going on, I would not use it to teach.
Right.
It would be, oh, you finished all your work on our space unit. Would you like to play this game after school or something like that? And then maybe we'd have a discussion about why it doesn't mirror real life. So the educational aspect would be, what didn't they get right? As opposed to what they...
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, but then that's not... It's better to play games where you learn about that,
I agree.
simulate it.
I agree.
Okay, other than the fact that you're going up in orbit and you got to complete stages, that part's kind of cool. But like I said, the other parts of well, I already said it, so let's go on. So that's where it says it may promote misconceptions about what the things the astronauts had to encounter. When you watch movies like Apollo 13, they're having to problem solve stuff right then and there,
Right.
and that's where they could have did the real time part, where they have to roll dice to do that, and then the anxiety comes into play, the tension comes into play, is that we have so many problems going on. Where do we allocate our dice?
Yeah.
And if you don't complete so many cards in time, maybe that's when you lose. Okay,
Yeah,
so
that
I
would
think-
probably worked better.
Yeah, because we played real-time games like that, like Escape the Temple,
Yep.
where you got to go in and out, and if you don't, and then you got to help each other.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
could have did something like that.
That would have been cool. I would
So-
have liked that. I think that would have been very interesting.
Right. So it feels like a solo game for 2 players, which Julie indicated that, and may have an alpha player problem with more players. So I can see a situation here, if there's 2, 3 astronauts, where it may be where, now the way it's supposed to go, one player allocates some dice, the other player, it's, okay, I want to allocate these, but you can see the other player say, no, don't put it there, put it here. Then it becomes basically a solo game anyway.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have one alpha player probably telling everybody, this is what we got to do, because if we don't do that, we're going to lose. Now, we haven't played that version yet, but that's just a prediction.
You're probably right.
Having played thousands of games and been a game designer, I can predict that that's probably this lends itself more to alpha gamer than other cooperative games.
I know I would totally sit back and just let somebody else take over.
Yeah.
I'll roll the dice and you guys just do whatever. I would have no problem with that.
All right, so let's see how we review it. Now, we have a lot of negatives, so it shouldn't be too much of a surprise how we're going to rate this. Okay, so not so good. Now, we could play again if we really wanted to try it with more players and somebody said, hey, you want to play Apollo? I said, sure, because we haven't played it with a lot of players. And we would be curious to see if it plays better.
Right.
So we would give it another shot with more players, but we won't probably ever play it again with 2 players.
No. No, and I won't. I will never ask to play this
Right.
with just you and me.
Now, this is probably going to go in the sell pile, because even from the educational point of view, it's not even enough here educational merit for me. If I could build a unit around it, yes. Enrichment, it's not good enough for even enrichment.
I could have almost said bad. I could almost have rated this, for me personally, not for David, just for me, only because of the struggles and anxiety and stuff I felt. And I know you have 4 minutes on a timer, but in your head, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I only have, it's going to go by really fast. So you're panicking, trying to get stuff done. And David would keep telling me, you have lots of time, relax. Right. But in my head, I'm like, I don't have that much time. I got to get this done.
So it wasn't fun for you as the astronaut player, and the mission control was boring.
Very. So I probably would have rated, if I had thought twice, I would have probably done a 3.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it again. Well, again, I think we would try it again if somebody wanted to with more players. We haven't had a chance to do that.
I might try it again. If I could just roll the dice, I'd be happy.
How long we will keep this, I don't know, because even though I'm as an educator, like I've already mentioned, even with a gifted and talented program, I probably won't even keep this.
Yeah.
There's just not enough educational meat here. There's other games I'd rather play with my students.
I get it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Not every game you're going to love. So
right.
And that's what's nice about having a variety of lots of games. You get to, if you don't like one, there might be one right around the corner that you're going to like more. So
we don't give many ratings below a 6. But this is one of those few times that we have, I should say. So that's why you watch, just to get our perspective. I'd be curious if there's anybody who disagrees with me. Maybe there's something we're missing.
Yeah.
And you can tell us in the comments below.
Yes, but please make them nice comments.
But no, seriously, if there's something that we're missing here,
Yeah.
maybe you've played this with 4 or 5 people and it's a blast.
Right.
Unfortunately, we don't have that opportunity to do that as often. So,
No.
but anyway, so thanks for watching.
Thank you so much. We'll catch you guys next time.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.